Hello, this is the Bubby Shmooze show, the Uplift Bubby Shmooze show, and we're going to be doing things slightly differently this week, and I really hope that you could all take part. And if you're not here, then as we'll be, of course, putting this on our podcast afterward so that you could catch up to what we're talking about. I just want to say where we're coming from. This is the Uplift Jewish Woman's Magazine. And the Uplift Jewish Woman's Magazine is a magazine that talks about things that are relevant to women in the 35 and above age group who have lives that are really busy, with some of them having I would call it the sandwich generation, where you're looking after your little children while you're looking after your parents. Sometimes it's an age that there's so much going on in your life and so many different things. And a lot of us are bubbies or grandmas, however you call it. And that's what we talk about, life being a bubby. So today I'm going to be bringing a different format to it. And what we're going to do is as this. We're going to start off with a question that I got sent into the magazine that I really think would help everybody, not only the person who wrote it, because it's just something that is so, like, everybody goes through these things. It's just life, you know? And that would be the first thing. The second thing will be, we'll bring in Aliza, who's usually on in the beginning, but this time we're going to change it slightly, and we're going to talk about some of Aliza's art, and that would be the second part. And we'll end on just a few tips to take you forward into the next, over Shabbos and the next week. So let's begin. If you're here, just say hi. Send in a little sign just to know that you're with us. Okay, so this week, the Uplift magazine, which gets lots of posts from different people asking all kinds of questions, we got a really interesting question. And it was really cute, actually. It was from a young girl who was asking about her grandmother. And this is what she wrote. I'm just going to read it out to you. Dear Uplift magazine, my grandmother lives far away from me. And sometimes I wonder, what does she do in the evening? I can't visit her, and I get scared that she's very, very lonely. Do you have any ideas of what she would be doing in the evening? And I thought that is just such a typical thing. I think grandchildren sometimes think that we're sitting at home twiddling our thumbs and maybe knitting a nice sweater for them and baking cookies all the time. And truthfully, it's not what we're all doing. Life is moved on a little bit from the days of just sitting and knitting. And that's really where I wanted to discuss what a person would do in the evening. She's right. I mean, from far away, she has a grandmother living in a different country, and she's worried what this grandmother might be doing in the evening. Is she busy? Does she have friends? I think in the eyes of a grandchild, they sometimes do wonder what we do. So I decided, let's discuss a little bit about what does go on in the evening. What do we do in a quiet home? So there are a few things that we can do that people don't think about, and I think it would help our age group in the respect that just different ideas that we could do. So one thing that's really great is going back to school. I know it sounds like, what? I'm not going to go back to school at my age. But the truth is, there's open university today. There's lots of online learning opportunities, and if this is something that you always want to achieve, then this is the time actually to achieve it, because your kids are married, your home is empty, and it's a time that you could use your brain and open up your mind to new things. I've had friends who have gone back to study science. I have a friend who became a social worker. There's just many different avenues that you could go and learn. You can even go learn just for yourself, English or another language. These are things that you could study and you have more time to do it. Another great thing is to maybe make a chavrusa with a friend. It could be from a friend from far away, from close, in which you could perhaps do a Torah study. You could take a sefer that you would be interested in. It has to be something that you both would be interested in, and learn together for a few minutes every evening. But there's more to sitting than just sitting at home. Another great idea is if you took let's say a job in the evening that would fulfill you and that gives you a little bit of extra cash to play around with. So like you could do, if you like children and your children are not living far away, a good idea is to put up an advertisement that you're, help looking after children in the evening. There's a lot of parents that want to have a babysitter, and they would trust an older babysitter more than a young girl. So that's a really good opportunity. Another good idea is to, when, in the evening times, you could tell somebody that you'll be a carer for somebody who's a bit more elderly, so that you go live by, you go take care of their housekeeping or whatever they want. And you use, that that will stimulate you. It makes you feel needed. And you get a little bit of cash on the side. These are, just little ideas. Okay, now to do hobbies. Now, I'm not saying that we don't knit and we don't sew and we don't do all that. Of course we do. I mean, I love art. I'll sit down sometimes and just start drawing. But I think if you have projects in your head, instead of just saying, I'm just going to draw, you have a project. I want to draw something for a certain time, for a certain person. I think it makes it more stimulating and more something that you're more likely to do. I mean, this was a really interesting question, and I hope it answered that young girl to know that her grandmother is not just sitting around doing nothing. And also, it answered the person who is sitting around feeling like she's doing nothing to know that that's just not true. You're achieving. Just because it's your time to slow down a bit, that doesn't mean that it's you've stopped. I think sometimes we feel that, maybe I'm not needed anymore. I mean, my kids are all out. My life doesn't feel so like I have loads to do. So maybe I'm not needed anymore. And actually, you're more needed now than you ever were. Because at this time of your life, you have so much opportunity to give to the younger generation. There are people who will just tell their neighbors, I'll do reading with your children. I'll help with their math if you're good at math, which I'm not, but there's some people who are. And it just helps the parent of these young children. And it helps you because, you have a connection with somebody young. So this is really where I'm going with this. I just want you to feel that, we all have what to give. There's lots going on. And don't feel that we're, the forgotten, that we are not doing much. So, we're the lost generation, as they say. Okay, now the next part is something that's actually quite relevant to what we've been just talking about, because Aliza Martin, who is our art editor of the magazine, which we usually have the shared a shared discussion for the whole show, but this week we tried it a bit differently. So Aliza and I are going to talk about something that she does, which is art, of course, but she does this for a job and she sells her art, and she's been doing this for years. So it's not like a hobby, it's become a job. And what we're going to do is discuss some of her art today with you, because she just made the most fantastic book and I would love her to share it. So let me bring in Aliza and let's see where she's holding. Hold on a second. Okay. Aliza, could you request to join? Okay, let me find her. Aliza. Okay, she's not quite ready. Okay. Aliza's work, she did a bunch of stuff for the actual magazine, and one of them really was an amazing talk, which actually we could really talk about a little bit before she comes on. What she did was she did a series of 3 paintings about self-image. And I think the first one was how a broken mirror, how people see themselves completely different than what they are. So it was the person's face in broken shards of a mirror, and then it came together to bring the person's whole face. And to me, that really was a statement of how we see ourselves. I find that people today look at themselves in the mirror and all they see is the negativity. They never ever see the goodness. And even when you get a compliment, you can't believe that someone's giving you that compliment. So it must not be true. And I think that picture, that whole series of pictures, articles really touched on that whole subject. And that's another thing as a grandparent. It's, we usually are sitting in our houses as we're getting older. We'll get a little wrinkle over here. I have one up here. It's called the worry line. And I always say, yeah, I worry a lot. That's why I got it, which is really not true, but I have it anyway. Anyway, we sit and we pick ourselves apart in the mirror. And as we get older, it should have really calmed down a bit. And yet sometimes it gets stronger. And we sometimes give subliminal messages to our children when they look at us to say, oh, I'm so old. And your grandchild hears that, or your child hears that, and they give that message into them. It goes in. And then they start feeling that way. So that's a really good, thing to try very hard to see yourself in a positive way. Okay, so Aliza is here. So let's say hello to Aliza. And she's joining us right now.
My internet.
Okay. Are they over?
I hope so. I really do hope
I was
so.
just talking, Aliza, about, hello, Aliza Martin. Aliza comes from Los Angeles. By the way, I forgot to say my name. I'm Chani Schreiber. I'm the editor-in-chief. She's the editor of the
art.
And that's how we are. And we always having conversations, but this time we're having this with you. So, Aliza, I was just talking about the book that you just brought out, because we were talking a little bit about hobbies. And I was saying that this is not really your hobby, it's your job.
Yeah.
But it's a job that is such a nice job that it could be called a hobby. But what we were trying to discuss over here tonight was the different things that people could do to keep busy when, I was saying that somebody asked me about how does my grandma keep busy at night? I'm worried about her.
How does your grandma keep busy at night? Okay.
Yeah. She lives far away. I don't know what she's doing. And I worry. And I thought, actually, that's a good topic to bring out. What do we do in the evening when the house is a bit more quiet? All kinds of tips. So we did that. And now I'd like you to present your book so that we could talk a little bit about your painting and How
Thank you.
I think it's fantastic. So could we show the cover, please?
Sure. I'm actually so excited. I'm really excited about it. Um, it's really big, so I kind of have to go back a little bit.
Okay, so
But
it's a little book, like a rectangle shape.
it's actually pretty big. It's like a big coffee table book. I mean, you could
So
say
how
it's
many
bigger than my
pages
head.
does it have, Aliza?
Um, Let me think a second. I think around 80 pages.
Wow.
And here, you know what? If I hold it like this, you could probably see.
Yeah, now we can see it.
It's kind of like,
Oh, wow.
it's really big.
So it
It's
has
really,
an
really big.
explanation of each painting?
Yes. So it has an explanation, has a little bit about it. Sometimes, it'll be a spread across the whole thing. But yeah, it's really, I'm having an art show this Sunday. For those of you in LA, it'll be at the Hanukkah
Yavna.
boutique, the Yavna Hanukkah boutique. But it's basically, you know, just a lot of my art. It's not every painting, but
I think it gives you a good picture of what you do.
yeah, it's actually, I mean, yeah, it's for sure. It's most of my,
It's like,
most
I
of
think
my
it just
art.
gives a wide image of what you do. For those who are only listening and not able to see the paintings, we will try to put one of the. We always have, by the way, the paintings are on the web on our website. Also, in our website, you could go straight to Aliza's website. So we all connected that you can see what she
Thank you.
does. But could we do today if we take out one picture and like discuss, because you write a whole
Oh,
thing on
sure.
the side about.
You know what I would discuss? You know what? You were talking about being a grandmother.
Yeah.
And I think, you know what I would discuss? I would discuss Ruby Beach. So here, give me a second. I will open that. I didn't think of it beforehand, sorry, so that's why I don't have it open. But the reason why this one speaks to me so much and kind of the way that you were talking about. So
Okay, so let's just describe it. It's about an ocean with like a beach type of look. Am I right? And then there's
yeah,
rocks in the actual ocean.
yes. So it's actually so it's a real place. It's called Ruby Beach. It's in Washington State. It's in Olympic National Park. And I was married for about 20 years. And as a mom, I don't know about everybody else, but I know for myself, it's very easy to lose yourself in everybody else. You're talking about worrying and all the different things that are involved, and it's so consuming.
Yep.
Even right now, I'm the grandmother, not the mother, and I'm planning a pinata Ben and all the different things, and you just get so involved. So one of the things that happens when you're a mom is you're so involved, and you kind of are. This is what happened to me. I lost myself in that, and it was kind of hard to figure out. Well, who am I, and what do I want? And because the day to day is all consuming, right? Whether it's helping your kids with homework or making their lunches or whatever it is, that driving carpool, whatever it is, that's the life. And I just remember trying to convince my husband for a long time that I want to go away with him, just ourselves. So we went to this place. We went on a whole trip, but when we got to Ruby Beach, I saw just how beautiful it was, and I decided I wanted to go there. Did no research, didn't check out what it really was. And when we were there, we went earlier in the day. There's it's the high Sierras. So the Sierras are really high mountains with a lot of snow. And then what do you think happens to that snow when it starts to melt? It all goes down. And so there's this big river emptying out at Ruby Beach. And so I just thought, I want to go to that beach. I didn't realize I'm going to have cross that river to get there. And I just remember, I got hiking shoes. I was going to do stuff. This is going to be like
the thing, the dream holiday.
Yeah, exactly. And so we get there, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's like a whole river you got to cross. So I'm like, I'm here for this, so I'm going to go. And my husband's looking at me like, you're crazy. What are you doing? And you just bought those shoes. You're just going to ruin them in 2 seconds. And I'm like, I think so. And so then I could see it made him nervous. So I'm like, okay. So I start taking off my shoes. And so now I'm barefoot. And he's like, what? You're just going to go in? And it's true. It was freezing and the rocks are jagged and it kind of sounded crazy. But it was like, yeah, that's what I'm here for. Like, I want the adventure. And it was so interesting because even just driving through there, it was like, oh my gosh, like we don't need snacks like every 2 minutes and we don't have to stop for a bathroom all the time. And
I
all the
think
different
that's
things.
the perfect place to go into a discussion. Because
Yeah.
if you think
Yeah.
about it, I think this is the epitome of this age. Because while we're younger, you go. I remember the first time I went on a bus when my kids were, I wasn't anymore at that stage that I had to sit and explain. So I remember sitting on the bus on the top deck of, we have the two deck of buses here. And in those days I didn't have a car yet. Anyways, I'm on that bus and I'm on the top deck and I turn around to my husband and I tap him on the thing. I go, look, there's a car. It was obviously that I was showing him something that I would have showed my children.
Oh, that is so funny.
And I turned around because I was so used to doing that.
Yes.
And now I can't, right? And I think that's what happens. You get lost in this whole.
Yes, you don't. And it was like, that was like the biggest thing is everywhere we drove, it was like, oh my gosh, we don't need 100 snacks because we don't really need to eat 100 snacks, and you don't have to stop for the bathroom every 5 minutes.
Until you get a little bit older, then you're stopping for every bathroom.
I guess so.
Then I call it you're anointing every bathroom. I'm sorry.
Right,
so
exactly. But here it was about me. It was about us as a couple together. And it was like.
And I think that's so important to do that, to realize, okay, we need to now build just us two because it's all been about the kids. Now it's time for me and for you.
Well, this was what was kind of interesting because you would think, so my husband wasn't totally ready for that at this specific place at Ruby Beach because he was thinking, I'm not getting my feet wet and I'm not climbing over there. But what was interesting was that my personality was always super accommodating and bend over backwards, that I would have never thought to leave him behind. But I was like, wait a second. Yeah, I am going to. And so I did. And he waited there for me to do this. What'd you say?
And nothing happened to him.
Nothing happened to him. I had a blast all by myself watching the sunset. I climbed for another hour. He couldn't find me. He couldn't see me because you can't, where I was in that painting, you couldn't see that to get there. There's other bluffs that I had to climb to reach that area. But then he did come back with me the next night with Crocs and we crossed together. But it was like, wait a second, I'm still fun. I'm still adventurous and I can do this.
And I think that's also another thing. We sometimes lose sight of who we are. Because like I know that when I was younger, I was really like out doing and as I've gotten older, I haven't done that much. I've become much more serious in a way. And for me, when I came to LA that time, that was for me like, wow, I picked myself up. I did something that I wanted to do.
And then it was about you.
Yeah, and I really felt it that time. And I think that's sometimes so important that we, as grandmothers, we do have to remember who we are and that we're still somebody. We're not just,
Well, I think that transition into motherhood, you're constantly giving the whole time. You're around the clock. You're feeding, you're whatever it is. So then suddenly you forget that, wait a second, I'm a person with needs and other desires, because it's so easy to lose yourself in it. And then taking that step back, I think that's why a lot of people who are around our age and their children are moving out of the house, it's like, wait a second, I spent my whole life on that. Who am I and what do I really want?
Yeah.
And I think that's
a major thing of who am I? I think that, and something, they talk about, the age, the age of life, the stage of life, when they talk about the menopause and all that. But the truth is, it's not only about that. It's about the fact that your whole life is starting to change. People see you as a bit of an old person, and your capabilities, they start questioning a little bit. And then you start questioning yourself. And
I
you're starting to think, hold on, maybe they're right. You know, I'm very old. I can't really. And you're not old. You're young still.
I think the key is you have to enjoy every moment you're in, because every moment you're in has gifts. When you're really young,
Yeah.
and you're a teen, well, really, youth is wasted on the young. I mean, I should say that. Yeah, I mean, you
But it
really,
isn't, because if you think about it, it's not wasted on the young, because that is what youth is, to be
yeah,
wasted
yeah,
on
but
the
you
young.
don't appreciate it until you're older. Just
Yeah.
how, I mean, now we appreciate, like, oh my gosh, wow, it's nice to walk upstairs and your knees not hurt, or things
Yeah.
like that. Things that you wouldn't think of if you didn't have, you know what I'm saying? So those things you don't appreciate when you're younger. I can look at a picture of myself when I was younger and go, hey, I don't look so bad. Why did I think I was so, what,
Okay,
you
hold
know?
on. I have something to show you. I think I
Okay.
once showed it to you. But we were talking before about your paintings and how people's images of themselves change. And,
Yeah.
the painting with the sharded glass. And I just want to
Yes.
say to you where it started from, okay? So this was a
Okay.
picture of me when I was young,
I love it.
okay? I remember looking at this picture and hating every single piece of it, okay? And I kept on thinking, oh, I'm so ugly, I'm so this, I'm so fat, I'm so whatever it was. And then I look at myself and I'm thinking, I was really nice looking then. What is the matter with me?
Exactly.
And that's what happens. We get lost. I think the changes of our life, we sometimes forget where we are, who we've become, what good we have achieved.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
I
very
think you're
important.
absolutely right.
Yeah. Anyways, I think on that note, we could start coming to the end of it. But are you going to print this book could people buy this book?
It's a really good question. So really, I did this so that I can have something at the show so people can look at, because you can't, anytime you have an art show, you can't bring all your art there. But it was something of a dream of mine that I really would like to do.
I'll
So
tell you what,
this,
I really think, I'm just saying this
sure.
this would be on our private conversation, but being that we're public, I would tell you to do it, because we got such good feedback from it today
Oh,
on
thank
the
you.
group. And I think that people
Thank you.
it's like a night, like you say, it's a coffee table book. It's a really
You
nice.
know what? All I did was post it on my status, and everyone asked if they could buy it. And I don't have it ready to buy yet. So I have to learn how to do that. There are a few more paintings I wanted to add to it that I just wasn't ready. So it was just easier to,
Make another book afterward.
yeah. But all this is in there, so it's ready to go. So I just have to figure out exactly how that works, and then I really would like to. So in the future.
Watch this space. That's what we'll say about that.
Okay.
Okay. Before we go, do we have anything on the Parsha this week that we could
So
talk
I
about?
love this Parsha.
Pardon?
Say that again.
Do we have anything that we could say about this Shabbos, or?
You know what? I love this Parsha Vayetze. I've wanted to paint this painting 100 times at least. And I'm always a little bit stuck. I don't know why I'm like this, but when I decide to paint something, I feel like I have to know every little aspect about it before I really put it to canvas or wood. Um, but I love, and I always dream of it and imagine it, and I've sketched it many times. That's why I'm laughing at myself. But where Yaakov is sleep, it's really that scene of Yaakov sleeping, and the sulam, the ladder, and the angels going up and down. And I just feel like there's so many deep meanings in there. So I feel like, even if I have a basic understanding, I feel like I have to delve deeper into it. Um, I love the whole concept, and Hashem telling him that he's always going to be with him. And even though through these exiles that we're in, and we're in Edom, this is the longest one, that we're going to come out of it. But honestly, I feel like I need more. So I'm not sure if I have so much to say. Do you have something to say?
Now, yeah, one thing I would say,
Okay.
very much, is like you were saying about how the gullus, it's going on, and how we get out from one to the next. I think that is like the same idea of a person. We go through different gulluses inside ourselves.
Oh, that is so true.
We wake up, you know, when we're young. It's also even the age is like a gullus. It's our own feelings towards ourselves that have to go through a redemption. And as we get older, we redeem this time before. So what I mean is like that picture. You know, I saw myself as a certain type of person in that. And I went through that stage of my life. And as I've gotten older and that passed, I realized, hey, I was good then. Next, you know what I mean? I think that's also, it's the whole idea of the ladder was, it's always up and down, and it just goes around. The world just continues to revolve and everything.
Yes. No, and I think that's so true for women in general. I think as we're younger, we're so much harder on ourselves.
Very.
I think boys and men are just not nearly as hard on themselves in that way. And there really is so much attention and focus on the way we look. One of the great things about being older is you kind of don't care so much anymore, you know? So,
I think it's not only that, it's not so much that you don't care. It's that you care in a different way. You care. It's for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. It's not
always caring about what somebody will think about you. It's more caring, oh gosh, I'm looking older today. I don't feel so good. It's more about yourself. It's not, I know that like now I would go out even if I'm not put on all my makeup, because at the end of the day, when you know, when I go out, I know who it's for. It's for myself. I look good. It's for myself. Yeah. I think that's really a good way to end it. But let me just end on a little tip for the week. I just heard this really cute tip, and I thought, oh wow, I must share it. And Slavish gave it to me, and I think it's fantastic. She was telling me about defrosting chicken quickly. So I said, oh, I would put it into the microwave.
The what quickly?
Defrosting chicken. You know, when you get a chicken out of your freezer, and you just don't know how to defrost it quickly, right? So she said, you take a thing of ice, a container of ice, you put it in, and it starts to defrost. That was one tip. And the other tip was that you take 2 stainless steel pans and you put it in between, and the stainless steel, it has to be touching the actual chicken, and the steel will draw out the coldness from the chicken.
Really?
Yeah.
I never thought that.
I never heard of it.
So how quick is it? How quick is the defrosting?
Oh, don't be so pedantic. I don't know.
Okay, fine. I guess we'll have to test it and see.
We'll test it. Whoever tests it first should please tell us.
All right.
Anyway, do you have any tips to leave us with?
For Shabbos, I'll tell you what I'm probably making for the Pidyon event.
Okay.
And it's a good Shabbos or any salad. I love salads. I'm a big salad person. So a spring mix salad. Wait, which one should I do? I'm still debating between 2. So you know what? I'll tell you which one. I cut up some dates. You kind of always have to check dates. My mom's from Egypt, so we always checked everything for bugs. So you got to check your dates, cut them up in little pieces. Pomegranate seeds, and sliced up little apples, just little cubes, and put it on top of some lettuce and some red wine vinegar and some olive oil. Did I leave anything out? No, and it's really pretty. And you can, I mean, this is if you want to, you can always add some candied pecans on top.
Oh, wow. Sounds really good, actually.
It's actually really yum. My son always asks me to make that one.
Oh, I'm going to try that.
One. Yeah, that's a really yummy one.
Okay, so we'll hopefully add it underneath, or we'll put a link onto the site for it.
Okay, great.
Anyways, hi, Art, the Covenant joined. Hi.
Hi.
All those who joined us, you should know that you could have the replay. We will put it on, we have it on here, and then we put it onto our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is for the podcasts, and we're going to be doing this as the podcast, part of our podcast series. And it's really nice. And I hope anyone has any ideas that they want us to talk, or any letter that they want us to talk about, because I think that
Yeah.
that the post bag gets so full of letters in the actual magazine that it's so nice to discuss what people are talking about.
Yes.
And have a great Shabbos, everybody. Enjoy
Thank you,
yourselves.
Shabbos.
And Mazel Tov, Aliza. Enjoy the Pidyon
Thank
Haben.
you. Thank you.
And we'll see each other next week.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.